mandatory that the team is using the appropriate architecture. MVC, for example, separating the presentation from your domain. And that was mandatory because the only time we had success is when we didn't test through the UI. And some of our customers ask us to help them with the UI, it fails.
Well, and I've seen when people try to use the tools that we like for testing through the UI, you end up with abominations like JWebFit, which essentially turns fit into a web scripting language. And I had seen a team that did this as, the programmers did it as a pure defense mechanism. They didn't want to teach the testers how to write fixtures. So they said, well, since we can kind of teach you how to speak HTML and URLs, why don't you use this JWebFit so we don't have to do any custom fixture work for you anymore? And it ended up becoming a tool of dividing the organization instead of a tool of uniting them. That's why I had said JWebFit.
So there's a requirement for appropriate architecture or appropriate maturity in the team to understand how to divide correctly the application architecture. Another place where we've seen strong success is when in industry where business rules are very important. So we didn't have, the selling proposition was quite easy, for example, in an organization where the rule can easily, are so complex that just having the capability for the team to validate that existing rules are not violated by a new business rule, man, that was like a killer proposition saying, oh, you could do that with, we call that executable specification in our vocabulary. We never used the word test since 2005, once we created the first generation of the product. And the last thing, we had success also approaching company where using Excel or other way of automating testing, not through the UI, and because their goal in life was not to create their own, their tooling, but to build real application. When we come out with a tool, they say, "Oh, that's cool. Let's try that," instead of using our own. Yeah. So this is when we had success so far.